And check this out. Are you ready? You only get one item. Okay, verified. So please don't listen to the people in the comments. No offense to the people in the comments, but please, I do not advise you guys to purchase these chests because it is just one random item. Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to an update video on the Tails Challenge. So I want to start off by giving a huge thanks and a huge shout out to Bob the Bison for posting this comment on the previous video I made. I knew someone out there would have this information. So basically this video is going to discuss the optimal strategy to get Rara for the cheapest amount of gems the most efficient way possible. So this is the comment. On 20 cells, use 32 gems after 2 collections, not including the first one. On 30 cells, use 45 gems after 4 collections, not including the first one. And on the 50 cells, which will give you the rank 0 monster, use 70 gems after 5 collections, not including the first one. The total gem cost is going to be 147 gems. And there's a link if you want to go to the whole strategy on Progressive Islands. If I click on that link, I'm pretty sure it's going to take me to Dory's post. Huge shout out to Dory as well. Dory would always make the most optimal strategies for Progressive Islands. So the only thing I would say is that typically applies to legendary monsters, and I didn't think it actually applied to mythic monsters, considering mythic monsters are a little harder to get. And just my experience with Van Decken, the Van Decken challenge to me cost more gems than usual. But with that being said, we're gonna test this theory out, and I'm gonna explain it just so you guys understand exactly what it means. So I just need to start off by answering probably the question I keep seeing the most in the comment section. If you don't have gems, can you get this monster? The short answer is no. If you do not have the gems, there's no way to get this monster, okay? Which is why I made a video a week ago telling you guys to save gems. Specifically, I said you should save 300 gems, and I use that number just based on my knowledge of my own personal experience. And I'll also explain why I wanted you guys to save 300 gems, even though, according to this, the most optimal gem count is 147. Alright, so let's explain the 147 gems. If you do perfect collections, if you log in every 8 hours and you skip when you're supposed to skip, you should be able to get this monster at 147 gems. Now, realistically, I don't think that's possible for a lot of players. And the reason I say that is because, well, let's say you have the intention to come in after 8 hours, but then something happens and then you ended up coming like 8 hours 30 minutes. And so then you have to wait 8 hours later, and let's say it's 8 hours 10 minutes. You lost out. You missed out on 40 minutes, right? Or let's say you're gonna go to sleep, or like a lot of things can happen. Also the start time of the event. So for me, for example, this event starts at 4 AM. That's why when I was reading through the comments too, and some people said I sounded sick or tired or bored. It's not that I was sick, tired, or bored. Well, maybe tired, because I literally woke up like at 4:40 or something, and I'm like, oh shoot, isn't that bird event going on? And so I decided, oh yeah, players were asking about how do I get this monster, so let me make a video kind of going through the structure and the thought process about skipping and everything. So that's why I recorded that video. So for someone like me, where this event starts at 4 and ends at 4 or like 3 AM, there's no way I am gonna risk waking up at 3 AM or 4 AM or whatever to skip on the last collection. So I'm actually gonna end up skipping like at 10 PM to make sure I get the monster. So for me, I don't think I'm gonna end up spending 70 gems on the last collection or anything like that. I'm probably gonna spend a little bit more. So that's why I wanted players to come in with a good gem amount, just so they can have a nice buffer period. So I used to say that 250 gems is most likely what you need for an event like this, and then I kind of boosted it to 300. I thought that was a better amount, and then I even made a comment to like, honestly, bring like 400, 500 just to guarantee you get the monster. Because the saddest thing for me would be to see players that, let's say they're super active on day 1, and they spend the 32 gems, then they spend the 45 gems, and then let's just say something happens, they couldn't play, Wi-Fi went out, whatever, and then they couldn't even get the last 50 cells, and essentially they wasted like 80 gems. And that would suck, right? Because to spend 80 gems and not even be able to get the monster, that would suck. So first and foremost, you should only go into this event if you have a nice amount gem cushion to be able to get the monster. I would say if you have like 130 gems right now, and maybe you can get the other 17. I would personally say that's honestly not enough, because there's a good chance you're not gonna do the good logins, and there's a chance that something might happen where you might miss out, and I would just hate for you to spend the 80 gems and then not even be able to get the monster because you couldn't gem the last amount by like 10 gems or something. So that's just my personal advice. But if you want to prove me wrong, go for it. If you want to say, you know what, Armor, I'm gonna set alarms, I'm gonna wake up when I have to, I'm gonna log in every 8 hours, and I'm gonna do this, by all means go for it. But just a general advice, playing the game historically for many years, there's been times when I saved, there was one maze when I saved 6,000 maze coins and I overslept and I lost those 6,000 maze coins. So I'm just speaking from personal experience. If you don't have the amount of gems, I would say, I'm gonna say 250. If you don't have like 250 gems to comfortably go into this into this challenge, just skip it. Alright, you're gonna miss out on a monster. It's really not a big deal, guys. If you miss out on this monster, there will be several more monsters, so don't worry about it, okay? But now let me explain this. Sorry, I know I talk a lot, but I try to be as thorough as possible because a lot of the same questions come up, and I try to be as thorough and be like, guys, you need this number of gems or you can't do it. With that being said, let's explain how this works. So, if you see this right now, I am on the 20 gems, right? I am on the 20 cells, okay, for Rara. So, according to the comment, on the 20 cells, I have to use 32 gems after 2 collections, not including the first one. So, what that means by not including the first one, when you first log into the game, bam, that's a collection. That's a full collection. 6 collect gold items, 4 feed your monster items, 1 fight, 1 hatch eggs. 8 hours from now, I will be able to play the game again, and for me, time has passed, obviously, since I already recorded the previous video, but 8 hours from the time you do your first initial login, go back into the game and do a full collection. So you should be at 12 collect gold items, and you should be at 8 feed your monster items. Fight should pretty much be done by now, because if I wanted to, I could fight again, and then hatch should be at 2 out of 4. And to be honest, the fight and the hatch eggs, those don't matter too much in terms of decreasing your cost. And then, I gotta do another login, and that's gonna be 2 collections. So when I do that second collection, collect gold is going to be at 18 out of 29, feed your monsters will be at 12 out of 16, and fight will be done, and hatch eggs should be at 3 out of 4, but that one doesn't matter too much. But assuming you do that perfectly, the cost for Rara, this cost right here, the 150, this will be decreased to 32 gems. It is at that point where you skip. Immediately right there, just skip it. 32 gems, bam, you skip it, you move on to the 30. Alright, so let me go on my baby count since I'm already on the 30 on there. So then you're on the 30. On the 30, keep in mind, I told you guys this last time, the minute you skip with gems and you start a brand new node, you can do a full collection. So don't go to sleep after your second login and you gem. Make sure you get a full collection. Make sure you get your 6 out of 44, your 4 out of 24, breed your monster, and fight PvP. You can do that whenever. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're going to do 4 more collections. Alright, so 4 more collections, 8 hours per collection. That is what? 8 and 8, 16. That's 32 hours. Which is 1 day and 8 hours. So, after a day and 8 hours, from the time you start on the 30 cells, a total of 2 days will have passed, right? 16 hours for the first one, for the 20 cells, and a day and 8 hours for the second one. So, after 2 total days, you should be done with the 30 cells. Alright? And for this 30 cells, you're going to skip at 45 gems. So in total, you should have spent 77 gems, and you should already be at the 50 mark, alright, at the 50 cells. For these 50 cells, you basically have to do a total of 5 logins before gemming for 70. So the cost will be reduced all the way down to 70. If you add up those amounts, you get 147 gems. So that is the most optimal way to get Rara, alright guys? But again, in my personal opinion, there's going to be times when you don't log in 8 hours. There's going to be times where you might miss out. There's going to be times where you might have to gem a little earlier, or maybe you logged in because you were trying to do another event. Maybe you're trying to do the breeding event and that messed everything up. Maybe your hatchery's full. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. So even though the optimal amount is 147 gems, you do need to come in with a nice buffer, I would say. So obviously, if you see my account, I have a pretty nice buffer. I have, well, not on this account. Well, on this account, I should be fine. But on this account right here, I have 668 gems, so I am going to be more than fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record every time I gem. I'm going to record every login just to show you guys whether or not we actually can get this monster for a super, super low price. So 147, that's going to be the challenge. So I'm eager to see it. I'm eager to try it. To answer a bit more questions, so well, let me just reinstate. If you don't have the gems, unfortunately, there's no way to get this monster without spending gems. This is why you should have spent gems. Or you should have saved gems, because realistically, there's nothing else to spend gems on currently in the game. So you might as well put them towards mythic monsters. If you remember, I made a video about Kralik. I think that's his name. Yeah, Kralik. Kralik SocialPoint made it possible to get that mythic for 350 gems. So if you can get this mythic for 147 gems, and it just requires effort, or even 200, even 300, that's still a good value. So I would say save the gems. Now that you know events like this exist, save the gems. The easiest way to get a mythic monster is always going to be technically it's during a race if you're in a really good race team. And it's the easiest but also the hardest, but honestly, a reward to value ratio, it is worth it if you're in a really good team. But ignoring the race, the easiest way to get a mythic monster is going to be via the maze. It only takes 2 days of like diligent gameplay. After the maze, it's probably going to be the progressive island. And after the progressive island, it's going to be the thing we had last time, the breeding quest. If SocialPoint sells these, if SocialPoint starts selling the chest for 350 gems to get the key and 50 cells, Those are going to be the easiest ways in order how to get mythic monsters. Or obviously also the golden pass, but this takes like a whole month to complete. So anyhow, with that being said, yeah, if you don't have the gems, unfortunately, you just have to kind of skip out on this, and just don't worry, at least you're not stressed for the next 3-4 days. What else are we gonna do? The other question that keeps coming up is this monster worth it? Armor, is this monster worth it? And then I keep seeing comments about no because of anticipation. Personally, you can check out the analysis. All right, the reason I record the analysis is to give you guys my thoughts on a monster, and then I ultimately want you guys to decide for yourselves whether or not you think a monster is worth it. But in terms of anticipation, to be 100% completely honest, I don't think anticipation is that much of a threat anymore. And the reason I say anticipation isn't a threat is because depending on the monsters you have, you can easily counter anticipation. Like for example, if you have Elvira, right, and you can get Elvira since she's a Warmaster, if you have Dunraw, that alone creates a really good synergy to counter any anticipation monster and being able to utilize extra turn skills. It doesn't have to be Dunraw, it can be any Megatomp monster. So for example, here, I'll use an extra turner. I use Rekka. I could also use Voltic. I can use Zylo. There's a lot of options. So assuming I used a team like this, right, and I fought a base that can do extra turns. I don't think I'll find one because my... Oh, Charmless. Perfect. Not Charmless, sorry. Marquise. So assuming I fought this base right here, right? Here, let me watch. So this monster right here has anticipation. Let me go ahead and do this. And look, he gets an extra turn. Doesn't matter. Attacks my monster. Let me attack this monster. Oh, anticipation. Let me attack this monster. Look, anticipation. Like, it doesn't do anything to me. So there's ways to counter anticipation. Anticipation, in my personal opinion, is not much of a huge threat. I guess I might as well win. The only mythic monster right now that has anticipation is Miseris, and he can't really do anything with that anticipation. Alright? And if you're worried about, like, Hornets and Ragnarök, those are definitely monsters to be concerned with. But I think one advantage is because you're a mythic monster with mythic stats, you can outlive them. Like, you don't have to worry about them attacking you. You do have to maybe worry about them denying you. But like I said, there's ways to go around different things. So don't feel bad getting an extra turn monster. Like, I think right now, mythic monsters with extra turn skills, like you've seen Cybrow with URCLA, she can make it work. So because mythic monsters have increased stats, there's definitely ways to play around it. And there's various ways. I just showed you one way, but there's various things you can do. So I would say if you're worried about anticipation, that's really not something to be worried about. As time progresses, like having mythic monsters with extra turn skills, that's going to be super valuable. Personally, I do think it's worth it, so that's why I'm going to be going for her. That's why on both of my accounts, I save gems to make sure I can get her. So that answers that question. And then another thing I wanted to address, a question I kept seeing concerning the chest, is players were telling me that opening the chest actually gave you one of each item, even though when you read the description it says contains one of the tokens. It doesn't say one of each, it says one. So I wanted to address that really quickly. So I'm on a whole different account, and this account doesn't have anything. So let me open the one we got from the event. So this is the one from the event. You do get one of each. I want to verify if purchasing the chest actually gives you one of each or just one. So just to prove that this is a whole new account that didn't even get the item, so I just got the one of each from opening it. Alright, so now let me go ahead and buy a chest and we'll see what it actually gives you. We'll go to packs, we'll go to chest, and we will spend the 10 gems, we will buy it, and check this out. Are you ready? You only get one item. Okay, verified. So please don't listen to the people in the comments. No offense to the people in the comments, but please, I do not advise you guys to purchase these chests because it is just one random item. It is not one of each. It is one. It tells you in the description. Don't confuse it with the other one that you got from the Breeding event. So there's the proof right there. So please do not go purchasing these chests. Because if you're only missing 1 or 2 items, how many of these are you going to have to buy in order to get the one item you want? And they're each 10 gems. That's quite expensive. What if you don't get it for the 10th item and you spend 100 gems just on getting the event? And then in the event itself, you need to spend even more gems? Oh my goodness. So my advice to you would be, if you missed out on the chance to get the items because you didn't do the tokens dungeons or your monster wood wasn't working or anything, just skip the events. Don't worry about it. There's going to be future events. There's going to be future mythic monsters. Don't worry about it. So I hope this video was pretty thorough. I hope I was able to explain everything very clearly on how it works, what does the comment mean by after 2 collections and everything. If you have any more comments, please let us know in the comments below. I'm sure myself or other members of the community would be more than happy to help you. With that being said, best of luck to all of you on this event, and I will see you all next time. Remember to subscribe.